Hello and welcome to another video tutorial Monday. This week I'll be showing you how to create a nice manly birthday card that uses a lot of patterns and incorporates a lot of just paper piecing and things like that. It's one of my roommate's birthdays on Tuesday, so I wanted to make a really cool card for him that he can still appreciate, that's not too girly, because I know I tend to gravitate towards making girly things. But I don't think he'd be too crazy about that idea. So what I've done is I'm taking this Wander paper pad from Basic Gray. This has awesome manly colors in it. They're so versatile. And anything with the travel theme is especially good for guys, just because it seems to go pretty well with, you know, cars and trucks and stuff like that. So what I've done is just pulled about 10 pieces of paper out of here. I'm not sure which patterns I'll end up using, but these are the ones that I pulled. I have 5 patterns and then 5 of the solids. And then what I'm going to do is, this is a stamp from My Cute Stamps. I just pretty much discovered this company, and the stamps are very high quality photopolymer, and this is the first time I'm using this stamp, so I'm pretty excited. This is, by the way, called Little Cupcake. It's very cost efficient. I believe it's only $3, maybe $4. And you get this cute little cupcake with the cherry and the heart. I'll just be using the cupcake today, though. So I have this on my block. It's just a 2-inch block. And what I'm going to do is stamp this cupcake about 20 or so times. So 2 or 3 times on each kind of pattern, using my Spice Tin ink from Jenny Bolin Studios, which is my favorite, my current favorite neutral ink because it's a nice navy. So I'm just going to ink this up. Ink it up nice and well, and then stamp down. Perfect impression. And I'm just going to do this 2 or 3 times for every piece of paper, and I'll be back. So I've stamped my images on all of these papers, and I'm going to cut them out so that the top is separate from the bottom. And what I'm going to do is, on each one of these, I'm going to cut the bottom and the top out separately so that the bottom will be able to layer underneath the top. So on every one that I'm cutting out the bottom, the top won't be able to be used because I'll probably cut around it right up to about right here so that it tucks underneath. And that will just help the paper piecing be a little bit more uniform, and it will look more professionally done. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut all of these out, and I'll be back in just a second. So I went through and cut out all of my little cupcake pieces, and I have about 13 tops and 13 bottoms, which I figure should cover the front of this card pretty completely. I just want to do a pattern where they're kind of in stripes and kind of staggered. So, what I'm going to do is match up the tops with the bottoms, like so, and I'm going to glue them together using some glossy accents. Nothing fancy here, I'm just going to stick them together, and then I'll be ready to adhere them to my card. Now I've glued all of my little cupcakes together. I have 12 cupcakes right now. I do have I have 2 extra pieces, but they were both solids, so I'm just keeping those in case I make a mistake or actually need them, and then I'll put them together. So what I'm going to do, now that these are kind of dry, is get ready to adhere them to my card. So first I'm just going to arrange them how I want them. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to try to put them in 4 rows across the card. And that way I'll have some to trim off. I'm just making sure that the patterns, like patterns, aren't too close together. Okay, so this is about where I want them to go, and that worked out perfectly that I have 12, so I have just 4 rows of, or 4 columns of 3 cupcakes. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to glue them down again with some glossy accents, trying to keep them nice and straight. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make them a little bit wonky, because that will be a little bit less precise, and that way I'll be able to not have to measure everything like that, and it'll look a little bit more fun. So I'm going to glue these down, and then I'll just have some cupcakes over the edges here, and I can trim those off. So I'm just going to glue this down. Now, as you can see, I have some open spaces right here, here, and here. So what I'm going to do is just use these extra pieces that I have over, and I'm going to need to cut out 2 extra pieces than the ones I already have, and just fill these in. Since the other part of the cupcake doesn't really show, you don't need to have the other part of the cupcake attached. So I have my cupcakes adhered down now, and now that I have them, they seem to be all pretty much stuck down. I can go around the edges just with my regular scissors here and cut around and cut off the excess. Okay, I trimmed off the edges of my extra cupcakes, and now I need to stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to be using this set from Hero Arts. It's called Hip Hip Hooray, and I'm going to use this Happy Birthday stamp, this sentiment, and I have already cut this piece of blue paper. It's just this paper right here, and I think I'm going to have it overlap the card somewhere like this, or something like that. And this is cut to just over 1 1/4 inches tall. And then I'll just trim off the excess off the side when I'm done stamping. And there we go, that's perfectly stamped sentiment. And this can go right about here. What I'm going to do is actually color in these lines with my white gel pen. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to trim off this edge and trim it more to the size of my card, and then round the corner. Now that I have this trimmed down, I'm just going to use my white gel pen and fill in these little bubbles right here. This will add some more pop to it. Now that I've filled in with the white, what I'm going to go back and do, I have my Spice Tin ink sponge here, and I know this is usually used for distress ink, but it works fine for when you want to ink the edges of cardstock using any old dye ink. And this is from Ranger as well, so the products go pretty well together. So I'm just going to ink the edges of this to make it pop off a little bit from the card, being careful not to smear that white ink. Before I adhere my sentiment, however, what I want to do is I'm going to chop the corners with the 1/2 inch on the bottom here. I'm going to make sure to get the back corners. Sometimes they're not lined up perfectly, so you just want to make sure they're nice and clean. That's why I usually punch it. You see me kind of punching it twice usually, just to make sure I get those edges. Then I'm going to go through with the Spice Tin ink again and ink around the edges. And this just adds, you know, that extra masculine touch. And now it's ready for the sentiment. So I can adhere this down. And I think it needs a little something right here. I'm thinking maybe some gemstones or some floss wrapped around in a knot. So we'll see what kind of floss I can find to wrap around this. Okay, I found some baker's twine. This is from Annie42 at Etsy.com. And yeah, she has this awesome sampler pack that I bought. So this will match perfectly. So I'm just going to peel this up a little bit, and then wrap it around here a couple times and tie it in a little knot. That I have that adhered, I think we're pretty much done for this week. So this is a Pretty simple card. It only took a couple techniques, just some stamping, cutting, and paper piercing. Or paper piercing. And I just added that little touch, and I think that really adds a lot to the side of the card. So, thank you very much for watching this week. Here is the completed card. And here is a close-up of that wonderful texture that's created with all those cute cupcakes. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again for next week's Video Tutorial Monday.